Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Abundance Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Janice Luke, recovering from strep throat.
Man, I'm happy you better. You sound so much better.
Oh
You
man,
was whispering last week.
yeah, I was definitely whispering last week because I lost my voice, and we had to reschedule a couple of our episodes, so because I couldn't talk literally. So, and I'm just getting back, and I think this is the first full day that I can actually talk. But I'm still a little strained, so I'll do my best.
You got this.
Yeah. So I have some good news to announce, and I know April, you already know. So we have some exciting news, and it's going to help our channel. And so we have launched our store, the Abundance Tree store, and so we do have merch and swag for the Abundance Tree. So we want y'all to check out our new store. We'll have the link in the description. We're so excited. So if y'all decide to if you decide to purchase anything from our store, it helps out our channel because we do have, minor costs to produce all our videos and things of that nature. So and reels. But so we thank you anyway for being so supportive to get us to almost 200 subscribers now. We're right on the door of 200 subscribers, so we appreciate your support. And so if you want to uh, continue to appreciate us and what we're putting out for you, please take a look at our store and support us there. And you'll have the opportunity to do that. We'll be very appreciative. So
Absolutely. And the store looks amazing, Janice. You did a great job.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Definitely did.
So, how are you tonight? I forgot to ask you. You doing okay?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Happy
good.
that you're better.
Well, thank you. Well, let's get it going. So, who do we have tonight?
Oh, wow. We have a living testament to the power of transformation and self love. His journey from feelings of inadequacy and a tragic DUI accident to incarceration and a decades long struggle with alcohol has shaped his profound message. Through a deep connection with horses and faith, he found the strength to break free from the cycle of addiction at the age of 47. Now he dedicates his life to helping others develop confidence and embrace change. His story is a powerful reminder that change is possible, achievable, and worth it. And his message to everyone is that you are worth it. We have Shane Jacob.
All right. That's
All
amazing.
right. I love the message. You definitely are
Yes,
worth it. We are all worth it. And change is
absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No matter what.
All right. Hey, Shane, how are you?
Hey.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me with you. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you
Thank
for
you for
coming on.
coming.
Yes. So we want to know about you. Like, so wherever you want to start in your journey, tell us about Shane.
Tell us about Shane. Well,
Yes.
in somewhere in the late 60s, there was a Western movie called Shane, and I think my mom thought it was pretty cool. So she decided that's who I was going to be. And, I kind of, I don't know what she thought I was going to turn out to be, but, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be a cowboy and do all the cool cowboy stuff and ride horses. And I thought all the guys in the Western movies were just the real deal. So, I wanted to be a cowboy and do that ever since I was a kid. So that's where it all began. We talked a little bit in the pre-meeting, and I'll tell you just a quick story about my early life, and that is that, and I think a lot of us kind of begin maybe not where I was, but to some extent, it's something that we have to learn. And when I was a young kid, a young adult, a youth, an adolescent, and even into my 20s, I had something rattling around in the back of my head where I just thought that I was a little bit less than the whole rest of the world, for some reason. And I can't really attribute it. I've looked back and I've tried to think it, why was that? I don't have a smoking gun reason. I didn't have a terrible childhood. I can't think of any real serious bad trauma, that was gnawing on me all the time. So I really can't know either than maybe I really don't know why, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, why. I guess it's just kind of what we do with it that matters. But what I did with it is I found a way out of it. I found a way to feel better. And the way that I found to feel better was at the bottom of a bottle of alcohol. And so that felt, I mean, that kind of solved my problem. I felt peaceful. I didn't have to worry about the way I felt in relationship to the rest of the world, my friends and my peers. And so I found peace that way. And I got a lot of upside to drinking because I could kind of exit and I feel better. I felt a little peaceful. I felt a little less anxiety. And so that was my, and so I became a professional at it. I excelled as an alcoholic. I was 100%er. I drank every day to excess for over 2 decades.
Wow.
And as I was gaining all these positive results, unbeknownst to me, everything around me was unraveling. I didn't realize that I really didn't know to the extent of what was really happening to me, that I had diminished my ability to earn. I had diminished my ability to connect with people and to have a relation. My relationships were disintegrating around me. My relationships with my wife and daughter that led to a divorce and a bad relationship. I mean, early on, I ended up in jail, and that's, just not a fun place to be, locked up like in a cage. And they don't give you the best kind of service to help your self-esteem when when you're locked up. It kind of feeds upon itself. The cycle fed upon itself. And uh, what happened to me is eventually I would begin, when I got out of jail, I would continue the cycle, and I would wake up every day and I would say, I've got to stop this. I'm going to die at a young age. I've got to stop this. And then I'd go and do the same thing again, day in and day out. And I'd wake up the next day and I'd do all these embarrassing, terrible things, and I'd feel bad about myself. And it was just perpetuated this unhappiness. But yet I did get a little bit of relief, somewhere at the bottom of this alcoholic haze at some point in the day. And, when it was a bad way to go about, it was a bad way to go about living, because the little bit of gain that I got was not, the juice wasn't this, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. You know what I'm saying? And it was a high price to pay. Uh, and it took me a long time. I don't know, maybe I don't know exactly why, but I took a long time to finally get out of it. Some people never get out of it. I'm glad that between God and horses and a little bit of effort on my part, that I was able to escape, this terrible cycle, because it fed upon itself. And really what happened was, remember I told you it began in the beginning with me not feeling okay about me, right? I thought like maybe I just didn't quite measure up. And I mean, I thought, I competed in sports in high school, and I tried to fit in with the cool guys and all that, and went to a little bit of college. But this whole time something was rattling around inside my head that said I just wasn't quite the same. And I don't know, but as I continued this cycle of alcoholism, it fed itself. And what happened was, is I thought that I was getting better as I was drinking every day, and I was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think I credit God and horses, and like I said, maybe a little bit of effort on my horse, because on my part, because it took me a long time to escape, to break the chains and get some freedom. And once I was able to do that and look at the process of how I went from doing that, I take a look at the world and I say, to one degree or another, I look at like Brooke Castillo, and I interviewed a lady named now it's escaping me, but it'll come to me in just a minute. But Brooke Castillo owns the life coach school. She's a very successful lady. She was $52 million last year, the year before, something in her business. She's been a life coach for 15, coming on 20 years. And she says in all of her experience that everything that she coaches comes back to a lack of worthiness inside of people. And I interviewed another lady on my podcast, and she said that she believes that all negative human behavior can be traced at the root, at its core, to our belief about ourselves. And I really thought about that. Just think about how big of a statement that is. All negative behavior. That means if we judge it to be negative, whether we're doing it or somebody else, that at the core of that, if this is true, and I haven't proved it to be false, if it is true that all of that stuff, the core of all of it, is how we feel about ourselves. And it certainly was true with me, right? And when I look into the world, that's what I believe. So it kind of set me on a mission after I escaped all this terribleness and tried to put my life back together, to say to human beings, wherever you are on the spectrum of the relationship with yourself, I just hope that you don't have to, you know, go through as long as I did with the kind of uh, with the lack of abundance, right, that I had for a good portion of my life, because it's not necessary, right? It's just choices we're making, and those are choices we're making. So there's the
Wow.
beginning of my story.
Wow. Well,
Wow.
I have to commend you for getting past the alcoholism and coming up on the other side of that, and your success through realizing that you had a problem and overcoming that problem. So I give you your flowers on that. Um,
Absolutely.
that accomplishment. But I do have to agree with you. I really think that's a powerful statement. How you were saying that everything can be, all the negative behaviors can be traced back to how the person feels about themselves. I can relate to that too, and I really believe that. I never really thought about it till you said it, but I really think that's true. Um, uh, just because there's a lot of people out here trying to be successful in their businesses or life in general, and I think a lot of what stops them is limiting beliefs in some form or fashion. And so um I guess we just have to come to the realization that we're all fearfully and wonderfully made, so
Amen.
according to the scripture. So, and that we have what we need, we have enough to be successful, and we just have
Amen to
to
that.
tap into it. So
My value and your value, and everyone within that can hear this is value, and every human being that's walked on this face of the earth is equally invaluable. And that's just the thing. I mean,
yeah.
if we can truly internalize that, and it's kind of easy to say, but to really take it in as a belief inside of our heart and soul, and then to begin to act on it, to have it as a solid belief. A lot of times beliefs a lot of times it makes sense to us, right? It makes sense to us, but really deep down in our heart and our mind, when we really look at how we're operating, how our feelings are causing or are driving our actions, and why, what thoughts we're having, when it really comes down to it, is it truly a belief that we hold? And to know, here's something I can tell you that I firmly believe that. I believe that everyone is just invaluable, and that if you don't believe that, and if you want to, that there's a process that you can go through, and it doesn't have to be this buffering with all this stuff that can destroy yours and other people's lives. It doesn't have to be through pornography and alcohol and drugs and on and overeating and all the things that backfire on us. It can be a positive experience to create a belief in ourselves that ends up propelling us forward, and it impacts everything that we do in our lives. I'm so serious about this. I don't think it's a good idea to work on a a positive a, re, a to work on improving our relationship with ourselves. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's our duty and our responsibility as people on this planet, as human beings, as brothers and sisters on this earth, and because it impacts everything that we do, and it impacts all of my relationships with you and everyone in my earshot and the people that I love the most. So that being the case, I must do this. I must take the time and figure out how to commit to a lifelong pursuit, because it's not something that a lot of times you hear people talk, and you hear ideas that, oh yeah, I have self-esteem. I got that when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. They do all that weird stuff. And oh, I could tell that your they don't have self-esteem, right? She's got some self-confidence issues. I can tell, that's because they do stuff like that. I don't have that. Really, it doesn't work that way. It works more like a lifelong pursuit, which what's going to happen is things are going to happen in our lives that are going to take a little chip at us. And it's like, oh, damn. It's not something that we acquire or something that we get to and then we have it. It's something that we have to continue to work on a daily, ongoing basis, because things happen to us and we also make decisions that we're constantly making meaning out of what that means about ourselves. And if we don't do it intentionally and come to know that and come to really to love ourselves and forgive ourselves, no matter what the thing is that we did, then we can't fully love others. I have to tell you one quick story about that. Okay. You've probably heard, and I heard so long, oh, you can't love other people until you love yourself. And I thought, maybe you can't. I don't know, what are you talking about? I can love other people, and it has nothing to do with me, right? I don't know what you mean. And I don't believe you, by the way. But when I heard this example, it helped me understand. And here's the example. Here's the story. A mother has an infant or a toddler, and the toddler spills his food all over the carpet. And she bursts out and she yells at this kid, and she loses her temper and she yells at the kid. Then she walks away and she slams the door and she yells at herself inside of her head because she's mad at how she responded to that thing. And she tells herself she's an idiot. She can't control herself. She can't hold her shit together. And she's a bad mom, right? And the next time the kid spills the food on the floor again, on the carpet, you know what she does? She lashes out again because she's used to lashing out, right, to herself. Here's the other side of the coin. The same mom, the kid spills the food on the carpet, and mom says, I love you, honey. Sometimes those things happen. Let me help you get it cleaned up, right? Then she walks away from the experience and she says, I gave my kid grace. I forgave my kid. And she forgives herself and she's proud of herself. And the next time that it happened, it perpetuates itself. And then that kid experiences that. And that's how he or she continues to live her life. When I heard that, I finally understood, right? It must begin here. It is not true that I can fully give to you or make my contribution to the world unless I fully accept me. And I got to forgive me and I got to love me, man. I got to love me. And if you don't love you, trust me, you're worth loving. That's all I could tell you.
Absolutely.
That is so incredibly powerful. You have an incredibly powerful, like, just background. And I can definitely feel your passion about the topic of self-love and the things that I guess a lot of people probably just don't want to talk about because it's painful and it's uncomfortable to really like do the self-realization to understand who you are, what you like, why are you like the way you are, and addiction and just so many uncomfortable topics. How do you address that with people that come to you for help? Because I see that it's in your heart and you're doing God's work to help people.
I really appreciate your perspective, April, and what you said right there. I interviewed, you may have heard of them, and some of you listeners may have heard of a man named Andre Norman. Andre Norman is an exceptional human being, and I had the pleasure of having him on the Horsemanship Journey show. And this man was sentenced to, I don't know, like 40 years in prison. And I mean, his transformation was that he got out of prison, went to Harvard. And I mean, he is the ambassador of hope. And he's just this exceptional human being. And he helps people in prison have lives and get out and have lives. And when I spoke to him, what you just said, it came back to me. And he said, I asked him the same question that you posed to me. I said, how do you speak to men and women in the position that you were once in? And you know what he said? He said, I speak to their pain. And I said, tell me more about you speak to their pain. And he said, when you find out where the pain is, then that's the place to begin. Because what you said, April, is true. It's dealing with the painful things. It's a little bit of discomfort. We like to avoid the discomfort and everything, but really that's where the growth is. So, I mean, just to look at ourselves and say, what am I avoiding inside of myself that might be uncomfortable or causing me a little bit of pain? I mean, that is a good indicator usually of a place just to begin, because until we deal with that pain is what's causing us to do things that aren't serving us, and then therefore not serving the people around us.
Right. Absolutely. So when you speak of the pain, is this pain like because of limiting beliefs or because of a poor self view of yourself, or is it pain? It could be from trauma,
Yeah,
or
I think it's all that, Janice. Yeah, I think it's
okay.
all that, you know. I think it's all that. I think it's just a good place to begin. I agree
Hmm.
with Andre that whether it's from trauma, I mean, we do so much from, I said that I couldn't attribute, I'm not saying that I didn't have any trauma, but I couldn't
Hmm.
really pin, you know, trauma for my poor self-image. But whether it's trauma, whether it's just that our unworthiness or the way that we really view ourselves, whether it's just circumstances that happen to us, you know, whatever the thing is, it's all when you follow the root of it. Because a lot of times with trauma, what happens with trauma is we make that mean something about us. In other words, it could just be a circumstance. Maybe someone did something unfair and terribly wrong to us, and we make that mean about us that something is wrong with us, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of pain that I'm talking about when it comes to trauma. There's just so many reasons. It's like we don't even really need a reason to feel bad about ourselves, but yet on the other side of the coin, we need to intentionally, purposely put effort into having a good relationship and forgiving ourselves and loving ourselves. And but the rewards of this are they're just they are extraordinary. They
Yeah,
are extraordinary.
absolutely.
I think it's a lot of external factors, and y'all excuse me, I think I swallowed something wrong. I think it's a lot of external factors that contribute to people's self-beliefs about themselves. There's always something coming from someone else or something you may see that's telling you you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And I think the way that it's a lot of factors. I think it's upbringing. I think it's the way that we internalize things. I think it's the way that society kind of makes us or puts this cookie cutter image of what you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. And if you can't just perform 100% all the time and meet those standards, and you feel like crap on the inside. And I think that it really just snowballs for some people, and it does lead to addiction in any form: alcohol, drugs, gambling, shopping, sex, whatever it is. You just kind of overcompensate for the areas you feel you lack in, and it's usually in a negative area. But the way you're trying to explain it is that you can overcompensate or balance those inadequacies out with positive behaviors to kind of help the person not, be in that negative place. Is that what you're saying?
It is what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, first of all, that if if we as human beings, hopefully sooner than later, hopefully you don't wait 2 decades being, living in an alcoholic haze like I did. Hopefully that you can recognize, right, sooner than later. But whatever, let's just say it's 40 years down the road. What really matters is what's going to happen tomorrow, wherever you are on the spectrum. But if you recognize at one point that the beliefs that you have about yourself are having an impact on your results that is not helping you, that you would rather not have, then once you have the awareness, you can learn that there's steps that you can take to change the belief about yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
Bev Aaron says that a belief is something that you hold in a thought that you hold in your mind and you continue to prove to be true. We can create beliefs, right? Through faith. I haven't seen physically God, but I believe in God. I have faith and I have that belief. Now, I believe that I'm a pretty cool guy. I never used to think that before. Okay. But I firmly believe that I'm kind of a badass. And I didn't think that before, but I have cultivated, I'm very proud of that belief that I have cultivated. And there's things that we can do. One little thing, here's one tip that I'll give you just a couple of things, but there's a handful of things that we can do that are simple. Sometimes they can be difficult to form into habits, but they're not that complicated. Number one is just to pay attention to and to your thoughts and your words about yourself. Okay. And here's your measure of whether they're acceptable to you. Would you use that thought or those words to describe someone that you deeply love? Because if you would not, you need to stop now using them about yourself. Okay. Oh, I just dropped my pen. I'm such a dipshit. You got to stop stuff like that. It may seem, and even like self-deprecating humor going, a little, people should maybe laugh at themselves a little bit, but if you're constantly telling yourself with words and thoughts that you are, you know, whatever, something that is not amazing, if you are describing yourself in your thoughts and your words to something that you would not use, that you would not like to use with someone that you deeply care about, you need to stop that immediately and replace it with something that you would. That is just one part that was the beginning to improving the relationship with yourself. When talk about forgiveness, I mean, forgiveness is a big thing. You know, we all done stuff and we all have shame. Shame is just a piece of this world that we have to deal with as human beings. Okay. And but we can build up shame resilience. We can learn how to handle it. We can learn how to have it be okay. We can have it be no matter what you did, no matter what you did. Okay. You hear me? I mean, no matter what you did. I mean, whatever it is, right? If God says it can be forgiven, then I'm saying the same thing about me. It can be okay. Okay. And the difference there that I like that people can relate to and that I do is this. I need to separate in my mind what I did with who I am, because those are not one and the same. Okay. I may have done something. I regret it. I'm going to try to make amends for it. I'm going to try to make it well. I can see that I did that. I'm a human being. Okay. But that is not who I am. That is something I did. And that's an important distinction. When you make that distinction, it helps you with this relationship with yourself. And you go on from there.
Wow, that is so powerful. You have to excuse me because I'm gonna have to take this off and drop my mic
Yeah.
because you just dropped a lot of gems in those few statements you made because um I find myself like you said if you don't use those particular words with other people you need to stop. So I know April always gets on to me because I tend to apologize for every little thing and she's stop apologizing. So that's one little thing I work on, but I can totally relate to that to where you have these little thoughts about yourself and like a simple like you said you drop the pen and you're beating yourself up about it, but you have to give yourself grace because you know for a fact that you're going to give other people grace. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so powerful, and we just have to constantly change our mindset, and it is a process. So
Yes,
but what you said there was so definitely powerful and needed to be said and heard, so I
I
appreciate you for
agree.
that.
I definitely agree. It was a huge piece to the self-healing and self-love process because I'm a negative self-talk person to self, but to everybody else, keep going.
Yeah.
You're great. I'm very encouraging, but to me, I'm very hard on myself. I wanted to ask too, how did you connect with horses and how did that start shifting your energy to where you can start like because I think to switch from negative to positive there has to be kind of something that pivots you, like a shift. How did you kind of shift that to well how did horses help you shift?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. This is kind of a crazy story. I mean, you may think I'm off the rocker after I tell you this one, but I'll tell you anyway.
Not
I
at
Horses are just these amazing, magnificent creatures, that we that I've been blessed to be able to spend my working life with. And when I was drinking, I was trying to train horses at the same time, and communication isn't real clear sometimes when you're drinking and trying to communicate with creatures. But one day I was riding around in my schooling pen, and whatever happened, it happened so quick I didn't even know. I just ended up on the ground, and I thought my ribs were cracked, and I was sitting there in the dust trying to breathe, and I don't know if I was breathing, but I wasn't feeling too good. And I looked over, my horse was just wandering around like, I don't, he didn't really see, he seemed pretty indifferent, stepping on his rein and looking for some grass to chew on. And I rolled over and I was breathing. And I was like, I just looked at him like, why did you do that to me? And now this is the part. He may have said something to me, but because somebody said you did it to yourself. Now, at the time, I thought it was the horse. I don't know if it was God, but I heard that somebody said in my ear, you did it to yourself. And, that was my first beginning of, I took notice of that, and I started to, recognize what personal responsibility was. And I really started thinking, and the thinking was the, what got me resolved to make the change. But horses are like I said, these magnificent, amazing creatures. And one thing that I've learned many lessons from horses, life lessons that we relate. But one thing they taught me is about forgiveness. And it's interesting too, because when you make a mistake with a horse, they'll remember it. They have a boundary. You can't go back and make the same mistake all the time, or there's going to be a repercussion. You know what I'm saying? But when you come back with a new attitude and a new change, there is no judgment. They let it go. And as I observe this, I've appreciated this too, because, we make mistakes with horses like we mistakes with human beings. But a lot of times human beings, it's kind of difficult for a lot of us to let it go. We kind of hold on to things and we make permanent judgments about people based on things that they've done. And horses are an excellent example for us of how to set boundaries. What I mean by that is we don't need to be martyrs and throw ourselves down as a doormat and beat me up and stuff like that and keep abusing me. But so we have to have a boundary, right? But yet at the same time, when someone changes and someone comes back with their hat in their hand, or someone asks for forgiveness, they just let it go. And I think that if we could do that for ourselves more like horses do, and to other human beings, that we'll all benefit.
Wow, that's so
That's,
beautiful.
it is. That's awesome. And I believe that was the Holy Spirit in your ear. So I definitely believe that. I don't know about the horse, but but
I
I
told
think
you,
it
you
was
might think I
God.
was
Maybe the
crazy.
horse was the vessel.
I know, right? Exactly.
But message delivered, and that is
Yeah.
so incredible, and I'm happy that that was a positive,
Yeah.
snowball in the right direction for you, and also that it helped allow you to translate that to other people. Uh, can you talk about the people that you help with all the lessons that you learned? And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit. Right now we're just changing directions with the horsemanship journey. We've established a new program, and it's for it's kind of prevention, but for troubled teens or any teens, or preventative. Because here's the summary of the lessons that I've learned in life is this: as we learn how to manage our minds, okay, as we
mm,
learned mind management and how to control our thoughts, they say that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day in these brains of ours that are rattling around. And the more that we learn how to manage these thoughts and manage our mind, that will help us establish a higher faith in ourselves. And as a result, with our new program focused at youth and adolescents, as a result of being able to better manage your mind, it increases your confidence, right? And it increases your self-image. And so therefore, what you've done is you've decreased the odds of teenage pregnancy, addiction, and suicide. And so that is our focus at the horsemanship journey right now with young adults and kids. And we also talk to parents who are, just trying to have because there's so much when our kids misbehave, a lot of times there's a lot of shame associated with it, or it's like, because we think we blame ourselves for what our kids are doing. We won't want to talk to other people about it, and we have a lot of denial. And so these are the kind of things I think that you may be talking about that people don't like to talk about so much, because there's pain associated with them. But those are the kinds of things that we're doing, and I really feel like that, I know we're making a difference because I can see it, and it feeds my soul to be able to see. You know, I interviewed a man. This is one last quick thing. I talked to a man named Ben Kerr. Ben Kerr came another exceptional human being with a super great, powerful story, and he came on my show and he said, "Shane, if we go here today and we influence one person, it's going to be enough." And I just looked at him. I'm like, "No, we're going to influence thousands." But seriously, I like that philosophy, because it's just like one at a time. Everybody matters 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so powerful. I really appreciate the work that you're doing at the
absolutely.
horsemanship. And so it is needed. So I work with youth. I'm a high school teacher. So I really feel know, so I can feel your passion, and I can and I know that you are making a difference in more than one, but but I can understand the feeling of being successful just by reaching one person. It does matter. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for that. But yeah, it's so powerful.
Definitely. So where can people find you in the horsemanship program?
Yeah, we're all over every kind of media that exists, and you can start out at thehorsemanshipjourney.com. Thehorsemanshipjourney.com.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. So we have like a few minutes left. So do you have any like final words of wisdom to give our viewers? Just maybe they are down and out, maybe they have they're talking negative thoughts, or it's getting a hold of them and they're
Yeah.
overwhelmed with it, and where do they start? I mean, maybe they're thinking, oh, I can't get to where he is now. What do you tell people?
Yeah. Yeah, it is easier said than done. It is easier said than done. But it's a little bit difficult, but what's to lose, what's to gain is incredible. And what's to lose is truly a little bit of a feeling of how you're going to feel. It's a little bit of discomfort. It's a little bit of maybe awkwardness in the beginning. I mean, for me to say I like myself, I mean, I used to not even be able to say those words.
Mm.
I used to not be able to look at myself in the mirror and be able to say those words. I mean, that was just like, it couldn't happen. And so, you know, just the beginning of that is a good place to start. With your words and your thoughts about yourself, because if if you don't believe it about yourself that you are priceless, I hope you take my word for it, because I can assure you that you are. And I can also assure you from my own experience and from my solid beliefs that if you commit to a loving relationship with yourself by monitoring and being your words and actions, by um, another thing is make a promise, keep it. Stephen Covey's the person that told me that many years ago. I heard Stephen Covey say, make a promise, keep it. And what that means is that when we commit to do something, that we follow through, because we need to be able to trust ourselves. We need to trust ourselves. Now, we're not going to be 100% on it, and then if we don't, we need to let it go and recommit. But be careful to what we commit to, and keep our promises so that we trust ourselves, because that builds our trust in ourselves and our faith in ourselves. So make a promise, keep it. Make a promise, keep it. And if you don't keep it, readjust it and recognize it and go back and make it again and keep it next time. But keeping your commitments to yourself, recognizing the words that you feel about the words and thoughts to yourself, exercising forgiveness to yourself, letting it go, letting it be okay. Excuse me. Or is time in your life and thoughts in your life that are going to have just such an incredible value on the other end of it. And if it's not enough to motivate you for the results for yourself, if you look at the people that you love in your life, and know that as a result, you will have a positive impact on all those people that you care deeply about. Hopefully, that message and those thoughts will inspire you enough to consider, to have the awareness and start taking steps to considering to pursue a lifelong pursuit, okay? Not just a little exercise, but a lifelong pursuit of a loving relationship with yourself. And those benefits are going to be immeasurable.
Awesome.
Amen. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Dane.
Yeah, we're like right on the cusp of ending. So thank you so much for coming on with us. Appreciate you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you
Very
guys for
powerful
having me. I
story.
love your show. Appreciate the time.
Yeah,
You. Thank you,
absolutely.
guys.